In the 1960s, a Harvard psychologist called Walter Mischel set up a series of experiments to test willpower in children, using a method that came to be known as the marshmallow test. Children aged between 4 and 6 were taken individually into a room that was free of distractions except for a marshmallow that had been placed on a plate. The child was then told that the researcher had to leave the room, but before this the child was given a choice. This was to wait until the researcher returned and receive 2 marshmallows, or, if the child simply couldn't wait that long, to ring a bell. The researcher would return immediately, but the child would then only receive 1 marshmallow. So, ring the bell and get 1 treat now, or delay that gratification for 2 treats later. Only 1/3 of the children made it that far and actually received 2 marshmallows. Willpower is the ability to resist short-term pleasure for long-term gain. Smokers must resist the immediate pleasure of a cigarette for the long-term promise of clean lungs and good health. For the long-term gain of firm muscles and fitness, we have to resist the short-term comfort of the sofa or the warm bed and put ourselves through the discomfort of exercise. The dieter has to resist the immediate urge to eat now for the long-term prize of a slim body and smaller sized clothes. Walter Mischel was interested in the cognitive skills that underlie willpower, the thought processes and mental activity that can motivate us to look beyond immediate pleasure toward long-term gain. His experiments led him to develop a framework for understanding our ability to delay gratification, which he described as hot thinking and cool thinking. The hot thinking system is responsible for quick reflex responses to certain triggers, such as a marshmallow. Quickly devouring the treat was a hot response to temptation. The cool thinking system is cognitive in nature, which means that it's all about conscious thought processes. Resisting the treat is a cool response to temptation. Mischel elaborates further by calling these systems the hot go system and the cool no system. The cool system develops later than the hot system, which we can assume is present at birth, and accordingly, Mischel found that older children were better able to resist temptation than their younger counterparts. It would seem that as we mature, hot reactions can more easily give way to cool ones. Lots of the children made use of cognitive techniques to chill their hot temptation. For example, one girl imagined the marshmallow as a picture and reasoned that you can't eat a picture. This reasoning is a cognitive process that occurs in the prefrontal cortex. Studies have shown that when presented with temptation, those with good self-control showed brain patterns that differ from those with poor self-control. The researchers found that the hot go system resides within the emotional region of the brain called the limbic system, whereas the cool no system is located at the front of the brain in a region called the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is where our planning, problem solving and high level thinking occurs. The limbic system is where emotions, good and bad, are processed, and within this system lies our old friend, the amygdala. We saw earlier in The Brain's Problem with No that the amygdala immediately orchestrates the stress response on hearing negative words. Remember how it went for Sunny?
No.
This is Sunny's hot system in action. Sunny doesn't understand the word, only its meaning. And so this is an emotional hot reflex reaction. In terms of approach avoid behaviour, When the amygdala is activated in this way, we avoid rather than approach the perceived threat. The hot system's go is toward safety. It's a non-thinking emotional response. There's no time for the cool system to weigh up the pros and cons of a decision, and as we saw earlier, angry words will actually shut down the logic and reasoning centres located in the frontal lobes. We already know that the words emotion and motivate are both thought to derive from the Latin word movere, which means to move. Negative emotions activate avoidance behaviour, and positive emotions activate approach behaviour. The hot system's go then is away from danger and toward pleasure. In Freudian terms, it's our pleasure principle, and it has an evolutionary benefit. The hot system is impulsive and emotion driven, tuned to react to triggers in our environment. These triggers can be words, sounds, smells, sights, food, anything that can become conditioned in an associative manner to an emotional response. Whereas the so-called cognitive revolution of the mid to late 20th century would have us believe that thoughts come before emotions and actions, what's becoming increasingly clear is that most often it's the emotions that come first in an emotion, behaviour, think, or feel, act, think sequence.